Welcome inside the coach's room with Petey. How about that? Anthony Cortez with the Inside the Coach's Room with Petey theme song. Thanks, Anthony, for your help. Hey, it's the middle of the Four Nations tournament. I thought it'd be a good time to reflect before the matchup on Thursday. You're going to hear a lot of prognosticators and reporters talking about this game. Hopefully, I can bring a little bit of different perspective on this from what's happening inside the coach's room for both of these teams. This is going to be a big game. It's going to be a big matchup and a big. You got to talk about what it's going to do emotionally to both of these teams and what's happening. Because you look at how Team USA started the first game against Team Canada with the 3 fights in 9 seconds, trying to show, hey, we're the big guys on the prison yard, look out. And I think it really helped them set a physical tone for that game. I thought Team USA defended extremely well in that game, and I think they had the upper hand through the neutral zone in that game, which gave them the win. But then you get concerned, and you look what happened. You look what's happened over the last few days, and the biggest issue for Team USA right now is injuries. And you're talking about Auston Matthews, who came into this tournament, in and out of the lineup for Toronto with injuries all season. But as Andrew Fantaccio reported for the Boston Hockey Now, that Charlie MacAvoy was in the hospital in Massachusetts and may not be available for Thursday night's game. That's a huge loss. MacAvoy was a big physical presence for Team USA in front of the net. He was able to defend against some of the best players, including Connor McDavid, around the net front. And not just the loss of MacAvoy, but the heart and soul of Team USA with the Tkachuk brothers. Matthews sits out the game against Sweden. Hopefully, you hear the comments from the coaching staff and from his brother and his dad, making it seem like, hey, he'll be there. He's going to be ready to go. But you don't know. I mean, it's injuries. Like if you're not physically ready, can you put the rest of your NHL season in jeopardy with an injury? And I think that's the biggest concern for all these players. Hey, if this is Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, or if this is the Olympics, where this is of utmost importance, guys have a little different pain threshold and what you can do. Game 7, you got all summer to rest. This you don't. You're playing this weekend for your team, and those games matter. Not that this one doesn't, but those matter. So with Matthew Tkachuk, you got to look at what is going to happen with him in Florida. How is this going to impact his return to Florida? And so I think a lot is going to happen over the next 48 hours to see if he can play. With Brady Tkachuk, honestly, you go back to that hit was he slides into the goal post. You don't know. You don't know. They said he was taken up. Mike Sullivan says it's precautionary. You take him out of the lineup. Just want to make sure he's okay. And really, it was a nothing game for Team USA in terms of standings. But I think it does matter in terms of momentum. Now you're coming off a 2-1 loss where Canada's coming off a win. Granted, it was a 5-3 win that they hung on to. And I'm not quite sure if I'm Team Finland. I pulled the goalie until the puck's into the offensive zone, but what the heck do I know? But I think the momentum has shifted. I think you look at the injuries to Team USA, and one of the things that does inside the locker room is it brings doubt. And it brings questions, and it brings, hey, gosh, we had a complete lineup against Team Canada, and I thought we played really well. But now we're without Matthews, Tkachuk, MacAvoy. Now, hopefully, the Tkachuk brothers come back, and I think that's important. And I think that will bring a little bit of boost to Team USA, and I think that's something that they're going to need to regain the momentum in this tournament. So I think it's important the Tkachuks play. But I think the biggest strength for Team USA in their win against Canada earlier in the week was their ability to defend from inside the dots. And I thought their 6 defensemen did an outstanding job of keeping Team Canada to the outside. So that could be lost with a player like MacAvoy. That's a huge loss. Auston Matthews, you talk about what he's been able to do for Team USA and add to his speed. That line with Hughes has been outstanding in their entries and able to put offensive pressure. But Auston Matthews also defends extremely well, and I think it gets overlooked. And I think that's going to be, again, is that a big loss? Do these guys play in this game? So when you look at the injury front, Makar came back and played. So I think injury-wise right now, other than some Canadian injuries earlier in the tournament on the back end that had to see, Harley and Doughty join this club, I think right now Canada comes into this a little healthier, especially up front, and they come in with the momentum. because I think you saw Nathan MacKinnon get his feet moving. McDavid was outstanding the last 2 games for Team Canada. They've got their offensive players that play with pace and play with speed, are healthy, and they look great, and they're playing at the best of their tournament right now. They're playing extremely well and playing extremely fast. Team USA is going to have to defend again for this to be a factor in this game. So when you talk about who's got the advantages and where do the advantages lie between these two teams, I think you got to go look at their lineup and their rosters. And right now, when you go up front and you see just what I said about how these lines are starting to buzz and click a little more, the MacKinnon, Crosby, Reinhart line was outstanding for Team Canada. They played at a different pace, a different speed. Sidney Crosby was elite at the end of that game again. I know we gave him a little hard time in his game against Team USA, but this tournament he has been outstanding, and he has been everything you expect from an international Sidney Crosby. But paired with Nathan MacKinnon, they found something special. And that's a concern for Team USA up front. So I think when you look at the forwards of Team Canada with their speed and right now their ability to get through the blue lines with pace, and you look at a battered, beaten up Team USA lineup that has seen everything shuffled continually from games 1 through games 3, seen guys in different roles and different spots. And I'm concerned for Team USA up front. So if you have to give the nod right now to the forward groups, Team Canada gets the nod up front. Now, the back end, I said that was the strength of Team USA early. And I think a big key for their win against Canada was their defending and how well they were able to protect from inside the blue line. That changes a little bit without MacAvoy. They still have an outstanding defense. You added Jake Sanderson in, and I thought Jake Sanderson has been good at moments. He's had a great regular season. He can move the puck, but he's not what Charlie MacAvoy has been able to provide for Team USA. So that could be a big loss to the back end. And you talk about Team Canada's back end, Cale Makar missing the game earlier against Team USA and then coming back to play against Team Finland. That was huge for him. And I know the Canadians across the border aren't going to like this, but I still give the slight edge to Team USA in the back end, and it goes with the speed and the pace that they're able to play with. Colton Parayko, Drew Doughty, Travis Seinheim getting some really important minutes with this team. I don't think that they keep up and have the same pace of play that you see from all 6 of Team USA's defenders. Now, that doesn't mean that Canada can't defend. And you still don't want to face Drew Doughty in front of the net when all the chips are down, and it really matters because Drew Doughty can play. And he's worn this sweater proudly for Team Canada, and he is going to compete. So it's not about the compete level. I'm talking about sheerly the pace level. I like the defenseman for Team USA a little better, and the guy that's really taken the stride for me is Zach Werenski. And I think that he gets overlooked in the regular season in the NHL because of where he's playing in Columbus, but he leads all players in this entire tournament with 5 assists. He's tied for the points lead in the tournament with Sidney Crosby with 5 points. So Zach Werenski, I think, is a really big piece of this defending core for Team USA, and I think this team will go as he goes on the back end. So I've got to give the nod to Team USA on the back end. And then in goaltending, I think when we're going into this tournament, we clearly said this is Team USA's strength, their ability to stop the puck and the back end. You saw it against Team Sweden where they end up losing 2-1. It wasn't goaltending. It was a great tip and a screenshot over the glove. So it wasn't a goaltending issue. It was they couldn't produce offense. And Ersson was unbelievable in the third period, late in the third period on the onslaught by Team USA that they threw everything at him and just weren't able to beat him. So they couldn't find offense without 2 Tkachuks and without Matthews on the ice. They were just unable to get that tying goal. But defensively and goaltending, I think Ottinger was good, but we won't see Ottinger. This is Connor Hellebuyck. He's got 2 wins on the tournament. His goals against average is 1. Save percentage is .957. He's given up 2 goals in the entire 2 games that he has played. He's been outstanding. Binnington's been up and down. That made some really big saves, but there have been moments in this tournament where you look and go, gosh, I'm not so sure. His save percentage is .892 right now. Goals against is 2.6, but he continues to get the ball to run with. And there was some speculation that Aiden Hill might get some ice time in the game against Finland, but Binnington goes out, gets the win, but he gives up some goals late. And I think if they were able to hold on to this game 4-0 or even 4-1, I think that changes the confidence level in Binnington. I think that goes, okay, we're here and we're ready for Binnington to be the guy against Team USA. But I do think that those late 3 goals by Team Finland really affected, again, the psyche of the team going, uh-oh. And once a team starts going, uh-oh, and can this guy really do it? I think there's a concern. You can see it on the bench. And I'm not talking in Team Canada. I'm talking about during a regular NHL game when they've lost faith in a goaltender and you see the shoulders drop. Here we go again. Here we go again. We're losing breeds looting. Now, luckily for Binnington, I think he's made the big saves. And when you go back and really look at the goals that he gave up against Team Finland, he loses a stick and it goes underneath his leg. It's a bang play where Granlund beats him over the glove. Again, I don't blame the goaltending in this one, but it is a factor. Statistically, he's at an .892 save percentage and his goals against average is 2.6. So I don't think there's any question on who gets the nod when it comes to goaltending. Again, that goes in the favor of Team USA. Momentum, Canada. Forwards, Canada. Defense and goaltending, Team USA. Let's look at some of the deeper stats when you go, how are these two teams playing? So through 3 games, goals for per game, they're tied. 3.33 goals per game, tied between these two teams. They both have 10 goals through 3 games. Offensively, we think these are both the most powerful teams in this tournament. Team USA struggled to score. And you got to look at how they put up 6 against Team Finland, which that's why they got 10, is because their ability to score against Team Finland. So you got to look for, can USA provide offense with Canada, especially if they're injured and have to jumble up the lines more. So the goals for per game, again, you'd still talk about the offense of Canada. I think their speed and their skill right now has probably got the nod, but the goals against by team per game, 1.33 for the Team USA, and Canada's at an even 3.00. And that's an issue. So I do think that if Canada can shore up their defending and their goaltending, that could be a big factor in this game. Power play, clearly it's Canada. Canada's running at 33.3% power play. USA is running at 25%. But when we say that about Team Canada, 33.3%, they're 1 for 3. They're 1 for 3, and that was 12 seconds into the game. They just haven't had many power play opportunities this entire tournament. They have had the fewest power play opportunities of any team in the tournament with 3. USA has had the most with 8, and they've had 2 power play goals. But Canada hasn't scored since the first 12 seconds of their first game on the power play. So even though power play, I think, is extremely talented and they have so many weapons and so many options, they just haven't been on the power play very much. So look for them to try to draw more power plays against a USA team that can take penalties, especially if they get frustrated, especially if they get behind. And that could be a big concern for Team USA if they get behind, start chasing the game and take more penalties against an incredibly talented power play. Surprisingly, they're both perfect on the penalty kill. 7-0 for the American team and 3-0 for Team Canada. Again, Canada, not many penalties in these Team Canada games. So they're both perfect through the penalty kill. So I think, again, when you have to talk about what's going on inside those rooms right now, Team USA right now is all worried about their medical unit. That's it. It's, can we get healthy? And I think that's going to be the big sway in how they feel about this game and their confidence in this game. I do not expect a big fight fest at the start of this game again. I think that tone has been set by Team USA. I think that is how they feel. Their swagger is there for Team USA. I do not expect the puck to drop and gloves to fly. I just don't. I think this is going to be a more hard-fought physical battle. Absolutely. There's nobody holding back against the wall in this game. But I don't think you're going to see the fisticuffs in the opening minute. Now, will there be fights in the game, guys crashing the net or a late hit drawing some interest of some of the players? Certainly. I anticipate that could happen. The tension in this game is going to be palpable. I mean, this is going to be as nervous as these players have been in a long time. This is a big deal. Throw out the win by Team USA earlier in the league. Doesn't matter. And I know we all, the Americans, including myself, jumped up and down and big win by the Americans. But we've seen this movie before from Team Canada. This isn't something they haven't done where they've lost a round robin game and come back and win a gold medal. They've done it before. And we've seen it multiple times in the World Juniors where you go, oh, Canada there, and then they win. And one thing to remember, when they had that big game earlier in the week, there was no trophy handed out. There were no medals handed out. So Canada didn't lose anything. Canada's exactly where they wanted to be with momentum going into this game Thursday night. So be careful. This isn't the same feeling. Canada has momentum. They're feeling incredibly confident about their game right now. They're feeling incredibly confident about their offensive game and their speed right now. There's a lot of confidence in that Team Canada room right now. And Team USA is the one on their heels right now because of the injuries. So the momentum for me is a huge thing on how these are players are going into this final game in Boston. And does that put more pressure on Team USA? Yeah, I think it does. I think the pressure squarely lies on the red, white, and blue of Team USA. I think after winning the game against Canada 3-1 earlier in the week, I think that puts the pressure on them. I think for the first time in a very, very, very long time, going into a gold medal or a championship game, the Team USA is expected to win. And Canada is the underdog. It's not very often that Team Canada in the world of hockey comes into a tournament as the underdog. It just doesn't happen. And I'm not sure that that's a tag that you want Team Canada to wear. That's a proud group of guys over there with Crosby and MacKinnon and McDavid, and it's a good hockey team. So I think right now the pressure is on Team USA. And that's why I think this first 10 minutes of this game is incredibly important for Team USA. I think you saw the nerves and excitement and jitters in Team USA in the puck drop against Team Canada in game one. And I think that's where the fisticuffs came out. And I think they were able to ride that first 10 minutes because they were able to settle everything down after those fights occurred. I don't think they're going to have that in this game. And I think what Team Canada is going to throw everything at them in the first 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to see speed, speed, speed from Team Canada. Team USA's mission is this first 10 minutes of the first period. Put a clock on your kitchen counter for the 10-minute time mark of the first period. If Team USA can survive that first 10 minutes and it's 0-0, I think the pendulum starts to swing back in favor of Team USA. I think it's important for Canada to have a great start. I think it's important for Team Canada to get offensive opportunities in that first 10 minutes. And I think it's important for Canada to get on the board first. I think Canada needs to score first in this game, one, because I think that'll put America on their heels. I think that it will get Team USA questioning themselves. And I do think that will get Team USA into the penalty box. Imperative that Canada gets out to an early, quick start and gets on the board first. For Team USA, completely the opposite. Just keep this at 0-0 as long as you can. I like that for Team USA. I think they're the better defending team. And I think if they just play patient and continue to keep this score even or better, I like this for the Americans. But the pressure is definitely on Team USA. Now that brings me to who's going to be watching. First of all, Boston's going to be buzzing. I mean, it's a hockey city. It's USA, Canada. Marchand's the enemy. I can't wait to see him get booed in TD Garden. Can he get booed? Can Marchand get booed in Boston? Could happen. Who knows? I think it's important to see if MacAvoy is able to be on the ice in the Battle of Boston. I'm not sure he'll be available, but I do think people will be watching. I think the city of Boston is going to have a buzz. There are some downsides. You look at the USA-Canada matchup from this Saturday, setting records on broadcast TV. I mean, average 4.4 million viewers, peaked at over 5 million viewers. It's the most watched non-Stanley Cup final game since ESPN has the TV contract back. That's a big deal. The number of eyes in the United States have been watching this. I think it's important for hockey. I think it's important for the NHL for this stretch run to the playoffs. I think people are watching hockey that might not have seen it before. And I think the brand of hockey that NHL put out on this ice with the competitive 4 teams and got a real good buzz off that USA-Canada game, I do think there will be more eyes watching on Thursday. Now, unfortunately, this will not be on terrestrial TV across the ABC linear TV. It's only available on ESPN in the United States. So that clearly is going to hurt the numbers. It's not on free TV. I get it. But I do think there will be a lot of eyes on this game. And again, it's on a Thursday, not a Saturday. So do I expect it to be those kind of numbers? Probably not. But I do think this has pulled interest into hockey right now, and it's the right time before the NBA playoffs start, before the baseball season start, to have that shift going. Hey, you know what? This sport's actually kind of good, and it's fast, and there's some really big stars. And you know what? They could drop the gloves and fight and just sit in a penalty box and not get suspended for 3 games. Well, maybe I'm going to tune in. So I do think the long-term effect of this for viewers in the United States, I think it's huge. Canada's going to watch. Canada, I'm telling you, Canadian sports fans, if they put a Canadian sweater on it, they're going to watch the under-18 curling tournament in Moose Jaw, and that'll sell out, and it'll be coast to coast because Team Canada shows up when you put on a Canadian sweater. They just do. They're going to be there. They're supporting their team Thursday night regardless. Team USA is still finding their way. USA hockey fans are still they're finding their way to this sport. And it's funny you can say that in 2025. But I think this could be another influx, kind of like you saw from the 1980 Miracle. Now, let's hope the Americans don't make another movie. I know I hear that all the time. They win. If Canada had to make a movie after every championship, they would be constantly making movies. We got it. Heard. So I do think there will be people watching. And I do think it's going to be a great game. And I'm not going to make a prediction right now because I think this is an evenly matched game that really could go either way with the Americans goaltending, with the injuries to Team USA, with the speed of Team Canada, McDavid and Crosby and MacKinnon. Anything can happen. So I'm not going to make a prediction. But I am going to say some things about what this tournament has provided and what this tournament has done for hockey across the NHL and what it has done for some individual players. And I think when you talk about individual players, this has helped some individual players. I really believe that. I think there's some guys that are going to get a boost from that. Sidney Crosby right now is playing some of the best hockey he's played this season right now. Zach Rowinski, I think, is now a name that people are going to know across this hockey landscape in North America. They go, hey, he's going to become an everyday name because how well he has played in this tournament. Connor McDavid, I think everybody knows who he is. And Jack Eichel has surprised me defensively and how well he's been able to play on both sides of the puck. So I do think the Tkachuks right now, their name couldn't be more popular among hockey fans in the United States. So I do think some players are going to get a boost from this as they come back. But there's one player that I think needed to have a good tournament and didn't. And that's Elias Pettersson for the Vancouver Canucks because he wasn't playing with JT Miller in this tournament. He didn't have those issues of the guys in the locker room in Vancouver surrounding him in the Team Sweden locker room. It was a locker room. It was calm. It was his people. It was Team Sweden, and he's the guy, and he's going to help propel the offense for Team Sweden. And we're going to see if this is going to jettison him in for the second half run in Vancouver. And what a great time it's going to be an Elias Pettersson and a Vancouver Canuck fan. And he goes through these 3 games with nothing. No goals, no assists. No points, plus minus, 0. He has 2 shots on goal through 3 games. Averaged 13 minutes of ice time. This is the guy that I thought was going to be the guy that propelled the offense for Team Sweden. He had all that pressure off his back, took the weight off his shoulders. We're going to see the offense of Elias Pettersson that we've seen from years past in Vancouver, and it just didn't come to fruition. That does put a little concern in for fans in Vancouver. Is what can he become? And what will this mean for the rest of the season? This was supposed to be his confidence builder to get him back on the offensive side for the Vancouver Canucks, and it didn't happen. So he's one of the players that I really want to keep an eye on as this continues to see what can happen the remainder of his season in Vancouver. The other thing is interesting to look at is what's it going to do to some of these locker rooms where you do have those bitter rivalries. And the biggest one is going to be Florida. What's going to happen to the Florida Panthers coming out of this? Teams are on the ice today. And today is Tuesday the 18th. Teams are back on the ice today. But nobody from Team Canada or Team USA. And I'm guaranteeing that guys that skated for Team Finland and Sweden are going to get a couple days off. They're not going to make those guys skate. So you go to Florida, you got 8 guys sitting out of the lineup. I didn't know what are you going to do? You're going to have a 10-man practice? It's going to be awful. But then when they do come back, you got Matthew and Tkachuk potentially injured. You've got Reinhart coming in, Team Canada. You've got the Bennett, and you've got Tkachuk. You've got all these hot tempers inside that room. What's that going to do to that room? I know they're all professionals and they're all trying to win the Stanley Cup again, but there's going to be a couple of days where that's going to be a little tense in that room. And not just that room. There's other rooms across the NHL that it'd be a little bit tense, and people can say, it doesn't matters. It matters, especially with a Tkachuk, because you don't think he's going to be a little bit mouthy in that locker room about that win. Maybe not. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see how these teams recover. Those teams that have injuries coming out of this, because there are plenty of them. Pietrangelo left. Matthews has left. There are teams that have injuries, and now that's going to affect them going into this cup run. And we talked about Washington Capitals coming into this. 0 players in this tournament. 0. And they're well rested, and they are ready for a run. They're all united. There's nobody in there bickering or fighting which countries. There'll be some good natured ribbing from the people of the countries that ends up winning this. But overall, they all got a good rest. They're all healthy and they're all ready to get going again. Look out for Washington and their start out of this break. They could be incredibly hot. So keep an eye on them too. So I think there's a lot that this tournament did. I think the Four Nations tournament, I think the NHL nailed it. I think for the people that saying into this, it was just going to be an all-star game. That wasn't going to be the competitive nature. Clearly, that's out the window. We saw all of these games were competitive, physical, and everybody gave everything they had in these games. There is no question about that. This was so much better for the league than the all-star game. I think this was great for the NHL going forward. This was best on best, attracts people's eyes on the game. So this was great for the NHL. They did it, nailed it, knocked it out of the park. Great job. And the best players were the best players. You wanted to create stars. Well, you got them. Tkachuk, McDavid, Matthews, Crosby. They're household names. And people that weren't hockey fans know them now. So I'm excited to see what can come out of this game on Thursday night. I am very concerned about this Canadian team and the speed and their momentum going into this game. And that's something you have to watch. Make sure you keep an eye on that first 10 minutes of this game. Lastly, I want to say thanks to anybody out there that's listening or watching this. I know we've been interviewing coaches on this channel. We're going to do more of that. We're going to get coaches back in here after the Four Nations tournament. I'm going to get some players lined up on here, but we're trying to give the perspective of what's going on inside the coaches room. And it's not just about, I'm not a reporter, so you're not going to hear me reporting and breaking any news here on this channel, but we're going to try to give you some entertainment, have a little bit of fun. So thanks so much for listening. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody that's taking the time out. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on a podcast, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave me a good review. It really does help get more eyes on it, and it really helps push this channel. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe to me on Twitter at S Peters Hockey. I have video clips coming out all the time where I break down all kinds of stuff. We got a new series coming of the Petey's Puck Talk, the beginner's edition. We're going to talk rules and things and terms, things you might need to know about the game of hockey. And we're going to follow Alex Ovechkin on his chase to breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. We're going to break down every goal as he chases that record on Inside the Coach's Room. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm Petey, and we'll see you at the